our next speaker is Rodrigo Montoro. Rodrigo is head of threat and detection research at Clavis Security and has over 23 years of experience in information technology and computer security. By the end of the talk, Rodrigo promises everyone that you'll have new detection ideas, you'll be able to improve your cloud security posture and mitigate attack surfaces. The title of his talk is Tales from Detection Engineering in AWSland. Please welcome Rodrigo.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Everybody survived until Sunday, so that's pretty awesome. Everybody's here. My name is Rodrigo. I'm from Brazil. I live in Florianópolis. Florianópolis is the south of Brazil. It's a pretty nice place to visit on the summertime, and especially if you live here in the US, like you're making 5 times our money value, so that's really good for you guys. And I have 2 patents. I used to speak in different conferences. When I'm not on the computer, I'm with my wife, my son. Today is Father's Day in Brazil. Is the same here? No? Okay. Good. And I used to do triathlon, the Ironman stuff, when I was half of this size. So currently, I'm just doing CrossFit and powerlift stuff. That's easier, much easier. And the motivation behind this talk, I think it's a pain for most of people that try to create detections at AWS or Azure or GCP. I just know AWS, so that's why I'm talking about AWS. It's the number of servers, right? We're talking for around 382 servers. And this is outdated already, because if you go to imdataactions.com, there is 2 more servers there. And so there is a bunch of opportunities for the attackers, a bunch of things going on, a bunch of actions that you need to detect. And talking with Ashish at Cloud Security Podcast last year, or a year before, I don't know exactly, but I think it was last year, I was doing a research related with a service that was not that common, and talked to him. He was talking like, okay, you're talking about some uncommon service. And that's opened my mind, and I used to be more optimistic about the detections, what's going on, and after that talk, I started to be more pessimist. And I started to look like, okay, we have those detections, but what we don't have. And I grabbed some detection from Elastic Rules, right? And they have like the open repository of 59 detections, and they just cover around 6% of the service. And so we have a bunch of opportunities to create detections. And the same for Sigma. Sigma, we have like, the last time I saw, maybe it's a bit better or not. And we have like around the same amount, like 5 to 6% of the detections. And I always figure out, like I work in a security operations center. My company has a security operations center. And we start to figure out, okay, how could we improve detections? And so the main idea here is to talk about some ideas, some stuff we are doing, and because there is no silver bullet for AWS detection. And our agenda here, the detection challenge, the uncommon paths and behaviors. We're talking about the attack tools path, the attack paths, something more specific, like when you're using a tool or user web console or using AWS CLI, the behavior is completely different. Some misconfiguration that you could detect on the fly, and some conclusions. AWS detection challenge. The detection challenge is huge for everybody, even for AWS. The AWS itself, they released a new blog post. I don't know who read that. How to receive alerts when IAM configuration changes. Like, you receive a major update some days ago. And if you look there, they have the process like to create some notifications, right? And you're looking for IAM events. And when the event name starts with add, attach, change, creation, all those things, I say, okay, let me see in some customers that I have how good this will be. And I just picked 3 customers, and that was the result. One customer will generate like 250 per month. It's not bad, 8 per day, something like that. And so we tried the second one. It was 200 per week. the SOC analyst will not be happy with me. And so you have the third one. He is more cloud native, and it was like 15K in a day. And so I'll say, okay. And with that in mind, like, okay, this could not be detections. This could not be notifications. This just could be like triggers, right? I could trigger this, and after that, I need to see what's going on with different fields. And so what I'm going to try to explain here is this kind of things. And another blog post in Victor's ER, they did a blog post. I forgot to put the blog post here. It's on the comment home. And he used the Struts red team from Datadog. That's a tool that emulates some attacks in the cloud. And the total of attempts, the simulation was 32 attempts. And GuardDuty detect 3 of them. So using GuardDuty is good. It depends. Because it's a kind of trick, right? Oh, he just something like, he just modify instance attribute, he create access key. If GuardDuty starts to alert about that, it's not a good sign, right? He will trigger for a lot of things. And so it's very tricky to detect things. And the Sigma rules, they use the Sigma rules, it has like 11 detections, right? But the problem with this detection, because if you pick itself the number, seems like good. 11 of 32, good, not good, better than GuardDuty, right? But they are looking specifically for event names. And when you try to look for event names that are the actions itself, it's not that good. As I showed before, like if you look for those wildcards, and the result will be, oops, oh, hello. Okay, let's go.
Don't put it
Step away from the
Put it
speaker.
away from the speaker, right behind you.
Here?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'm not a stage guy. Okay. I know that I need to stay here because they're recording, so if I left here, I will not be recorded. And so I used to walk around when I speak. And so here the problem, like looking for specific. And another point here, we're talking like, we have like 384 servers, and we're just talking about some CloudTrail stuff, EC2, IAM, security groups, AMI, so the very basics, we're always looking the same. And how about other servers, like AppStream 2.0? Like last year I did a talk here, but wasn't recorded, about AppStream 2.0. Someone watched it here last year? Nobody was here. Yes? Okay, and AppStream has a lot of opportunities for privilege escalation, lateral movement, exfiltration, persistence. And we're looking for that. AWS Identity Center, Cloud Carry, Jason did a very nice blog post about actions from Identity Center that you could privilege escalation, not that thing. AWS organizations, AWS clean rooms. When I saw that, okay, you could share data with another account, like my mind just go, oh, it's filtration. And so who is looking for that? Because the problem, the biggest problem is, if you have an account and you are not disable those servers, it's there. It's attack surface. It's attack vector. It doesn't matter if you're using or not. If I have a user with privilege to that service, I could try to do something. And serves with pass role actions. Noah has a nice post. Noah from Hermetic. He's going to speak here after me about another project they are releasing. He has a very nice gist with the pass role actions, and those actions has the service. And so pass role, like summarize, like you could pass some permissions to some service, and so that's very dangerous. And EIM pass role is not logged. It's part of some actions that has some request parameters that you say, okay, it's using the pass role feature. And so there is a bunch of challenges here. And just to remember, it's not only about the control plane. We have the data plane, like we're talking about incident response, like the S3 buckets data events, like someone accessing your bucket is not being logged. The RDS audit log, somebody trying to do some SQL injection is not enabled. AKS, VPC. So Matt Fuller did this like 2 years ago. It's pretty interesting, but it's not about the service that are listed there. It's about like to pick the idea, look at your service. If you have something important and something happens and you need to do an incident response, you need to enable. Most of the control plane logs are not enabled because it will generate cost, because you need to save somewhere. And so, well, let's try to talk about the detection stuff. Uncommon paths and behaviors. So, first, what to watch. So this is a Cloudflare event. And so we have like who did, like the user identity, the type, we have different types. You have like some account name, access ID, username. You have the when, right, the event time. You have the source IP, from. And for talking about the detection part, you have the what. And so we have this part here, event source and event name. And you have the request parameter that could bring us to good detections. And how to enrich. And here I start some ideas. I have some ideas in mind. We did some me and Proteus, we talk about some enrichments using Logstash in the past at Sector in Canada. And we call it the trails, Cloud Trails in the tails. And you pick like a bunch, not all here, but a bunch of products or information that could enrich that Cloudflare event, that could give more opportunities to detect, and could make the SOC analyst's life easier because you have more metadata there. And here's a drill down about that. And what I have here is the risk level. And the risk level is based on Cloud's planning. And so with Cloud's planning, no, this action I could do some privilege escalation. With this action I could do some data filtration. With this action I could expose a resource. And enriching that, and so I came back with that log event name and I add this. Oh, this event name will allow me to do this kind of thing. The access level part, I like the access level because the access level is from AWS, and so you have write, list, read, permissions management, and tagging. What is more critical? Permissions management and write, but it's all about context, right? If you have something that could not be read is something critical for your business. And so it's not a silver bullet, never a silver bullet. We have the Cloud's planning stuff. I did a talk, I don't know where I did that talk. Oh, Sun's Cloud SecNets like next year. And when I tried to run the Cloud's planning at scale, and Cloud's planning is a tool that tries to find policies with high permissions. And I could create a database because I put everything at Elasticsearch. And so when something happened, you could ask to the Cloud's planning stuff. And drinking here, right? Most of us probably drink a bit or too much. I'm getting old, so I just drink a bit. And I got an idea using some feature from AWS to create some database to use to correlate the behavior. And I think it should work. It's not perfect, but it should work. I need to test for sure. I just got the idea and I added a slide this morning. And so the detections. A very first sample here, over permissive policy, name-based and analysis-based. Some access level or risk level ratio. And so coming back to those enrichment, like if you have like a lot of read, and so suddenly a permission management. You could have some access ratio. Oh, if 10% is permission and write, and the other 90% is read and list, this is a common behavior. But if you have like 40% that's write and permission management, and the 6% that's not, it's a kind of. And so I have some stuff I show here. A spike of event source. And so the average event source per identity, and so that could trigger, especially like if the attacker are using some service you don't know that has something, because it's impossible to create detections for almost 400 services. And probably by the end of the year we have reInvent, and with reInvent we have like probably have more than 100 services. And first time sync, I like this first time sync. That will trigger when something different appears in your CloudTrail. And could be the event source, right? So some service appear, could be attacker, could be a developer, but at least you know the service is there, and so you could start to figure out like, okay, I need to create detection, I need to see how to harden that. Event source plus event name, and so it's common to use that event source, that analyst, but suddenly that principal use something different. Oh, these actions, they never used it before. And so you have the event source and access level, and assume role with permissive policy attached. And so suddenly, oh, this user assume a policy that's over permissive. And so that's good trigger. And so I have some samples here. And over permissive policy using pattern matching, that's pretty easy to do, right? You have an event, sorry about this, graphic is not good. There is a project from TNT Security, it's called CAMP. It's Cloud Planning on AWS Managed Policy. And the AWS, the Cloud Planning, usually you tell like, this policy has privilege escalation, the number of privilege escalation opportunities, the number of resource exposure, the number of exfiltration, credential exposure, infrastructure modification. And what I want to see like, if somebody is attaching a policy that has privilege escalation, I want to be triggered. And so I just select the policy, right? That has the policy name. And here, when I have the attached user policy, you have the request parameters, you have the username that did that, and the policy ARN. And so I could correlate with the names here and figure out, oh, somebody attached it, and attached user policy, attached group policy, attached role policy, and it could be the attached stuff and much more. And using that could be a detection. And could say, okay, somebody's creating something that will be administrator, because if there is privilege escalation, by the end of the day, you're giving administrator access, right? And if you want, like this work for managed policy, but you not work for customer managed policy, because customer managed policy, you need to know, you don't know the names, right? I could create a policy with any name. And we could use that database, the CN database, Cloud Planning, that I talked about my previous research. And you could, okay, if I have this policy ARN, let's look here and see what kind of permission. So I could trigger, oh, if there is privilege escalation, maybe critical. If there is just resource exposure, maybe high, this kind of thing. And it's about context, right? There is no magic keyword here. And there is the over-permissive based on analysis. And so you detect the policy when the policy is being created. And that's not that easy, but you have the IAM create policy here, right? And when you use create policy and a couple of other event names that I don't remember by head now, you have the policy document here. And so if you normalize the policy document here, and so this will trigger for something, and when trigger, this create policy, I will extract this information and send to someone somewhere else. So let's call a SOAR, or as we want to call. And this policy document is this policy, and so IAM pass role with EC2 instance has privilege escalation. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the Cloud Planning, and when I run the Cloud Planning, it will show me all the permissions that's related with this policy. And so I could create something more pattern matching. And with this information, I still could, how can I say in English? Ingest on my database of policy and use the same with the naming. And so like for here, I have the method create EC2 with access IP, IAM pass role. So I have a capability of privilege escalation. The first time seen, assume a permissive role. And so we have here, we have an IAM user that's assuming a role. And when you assume a role, you have a response element that will give you your new principal ID. And so after that, you start to be this new principal there. And you have the role running around. The type of user will be assumed role. But besides that, you have this new permission that's on the request parameters. And so the new permissions validate associate policy. I want to see, like, based on that, oh, this user is the first time assuming this that has too much privilege, and so I will send to my CAN database or pattern matching, knowing the name, because by here I don't know the information, but with the whole name I could discover the policies that are attached to it. And this could be a nice trigger, like the user becomes something with privilege collation, with that filtration. And the idea here about the Vegas drink the Bay idea or something like that was, there is a feature at AWS called the Analyze Policy Suggestion. Anybody uses that knows this feature? And what this feature does is generate IAM policy that's based on access achieved for an entity. And so you could pick a role, a user, some principal, and it will look at CloudTrail up to 3 months, 90 days, like what this user use for you. And so this is a good way to create a database, behavior database. And with this behavior database, you could like come back there, okay, oh, this event happened, and this command that the user, oh, it's an event source that's not supposed, is not here. But right, the policy generation is not perfect. There is some, like, IAM pass role is not logged, and there is a couple of stuff that you need to figure out. But it's a good start, and it's for free. That's the most important part. AWS giving you something for free, you should use. And the second part is here, like, it will generate a policy like this for you, like, based on the principle you choose. And so you could start to create, okay, oh, they have IAM, no, they use IAM. And so I could enrich that and became the principal information context, the service, the action, the access level, and another thing. And so if something trigger different based on that ratios, you could trigger detection. Because most of things that I'm trying to do here is not to create detection for a specific service. I'm trying to do something more behavior. Because we're talking about, as I mentioned, 384 service and counting, and probably 400 by the end of the year, and this will never stop. And so if you try to create detections by service, it works, but you need to have the other part. So the second part, the misconfiguration. Misconfiguration everywhere, right? You create an account, and misconfigurations are there already before you. So what is a cloud misconfiguration? Cloud misconfiguration refers to any glitches, gaps, or errors that could expose your environment to risk during cloud adoption. And this issue caused 80,000% of all data security breaches. And what is the problem? The problem is that we have like the AWS defaults. I have a full talk about this, but to summarize, I create an account and create an administrator user. And I start saying, okay, what kind of problem I have now with just an account with an admin user? And so I add EC2 instance. And so now what kind of problem that I have, the misconfiguration? And so what I have for S3. And so like misconfigurations will be in your account. Doesn't matter if you want or not. But you could fix. And what I was thinking here was, why not detect on the fly instead of waiting to run a tool or something like that? And so, looking on cloud exploits, we have a bunch of opportunities for detection. Not all checks for cloud exploits you could create a detection, but we have a lot of room. Like we have almost 1,300 opportunities. And for AWS itself, we have a bunch of it. And if you look on the Cloud Player detection sample, they have a lot of metadata read for you. So it's pretty great to create some detection here because you have some titles already, you have the service, you have the description, we have more information, we have documentation, you have the recommendation, right? And so with that, you could create it based on the CloudTrail. And so what is the action related with this action? So why I'm going to rate my CSPM run if I could detection on almost near real time with CloudTrail? And so, for example, for the security group stuff, we have the event name called authorized security groups ingress. The request parameters, you come here with IP protocol -1, that's all. and with the CDR IP 000. And so this gives me an opportunity like, okay, somebody's creating a security group that's allowing from anywhere. And could be like some specific part. It doesn't need to be all, right? And so when you have the response, you have is egress false because it's an ingress, right? The IP protocol from port to port, CDR, and so you have the response element that its success it was created. And so you could say, okay, who created that? And so you could try to fix on real time. And some good catches, like cross-account creation, right? Cross-account creation could be a way to, how can I say, to exfiltrate data. Public snapshots, public S3 buckets, public AMI, public EBS, and all those servers that could be public, I could create a detection at CloudTrail using the event name plus the request parameters. EC2 with metadata v2 disable. This is a very nice protection, and I think like it's Datadog report, like if I'm not wrong, like 93 or 97% of the instance they check was with the metadata v1. And so there's a bunch of fix already that you could, but you need to change the infrastructure as a code, like so it's born with the correct parameters. And VPC endpoint. VPC endpoint, like, what do you use VPC endpoint? Okay, my data, this service could not go to the internet, so I use VPC endpoint, so everything will be inside. But by default, VPC endpoint policy allows you to send data to any resource at AWS. Any resource means if I create an account, I'm internal. And so this is really interesting. There is some talks at YouTube talking about that. And attack tools, paths, and action. Here I'm just trying to show like some basics. If you're using the attached user policy to privilege escalation, using the AWS CLI, how many actions are going to be logged? One, just one. That's pretty straight. If you're using the web console, you just need to log, right? And so after you log, you go to IAM. I go straight to the IAM, and so attach the policy to user. And so we have like a bunch of actions going on until arrive on the attached user policy. And if you're using Pacu, I run the IAM privesc module, and so it's confirmed that attached user policy. And so just to confirm, I became like administrator access here. And those are the actions that were generated by the user. So you get a current identity, and so you get the list group for users, get policy, blah, 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 until here. So it's not directed as the CLI, but it's not too noisy as the. And so what that means? If you're using AWS CLI, you just have the right permission amendments in one service, total of 1. If you use the Pacu, you have 7 with 1. And so the idea here is to start to look on the ratios. And so just one service, and total of 8 actions. And so you have the web console that have like 85 read actions and just one permission amendment. And it's like trigger like 9 service, the event source. And this is not a detection by itself, but if you look like, okay, the user attached a policy, and so you come back to that attached user policy I showed before, that you could create some based on naming, or you could try to create something that you check the key in database. And preview key user context. And besides that, you could pick the key and see this key based on the Vegas database drinking idea. This key used to use this action or those servers, and so this could be really interesting part. And just to finish the tools, like you have Endgame tool. Endgame is a tool for creating backdoors in AWS. When they released, they got insane at Reddit, so like a lot of things happens that day. And it's share like your service with make it public or share with another account. And so the backdoor research type, that's the kind of backdoor you could trigger. And if you look on those actions, you have this. So for this service, you have this Cloudflare event with this request parameters. And so again, it's not a silver bullet. I could not add this to my CN and have everything being alert. I need to have context. And so everything by the end, like this is just triggers. And triggers will ask like on my AWS lookup DBs. Some conclusions, because I think I'm less minutes. Know what you have running. Remy did some blog posts that's really interesting. Like he started to remove service that his company was not using, and so after that they decreased like in 80% the amount of service that he need to take care because he just deny at the SCP level. So that sounds like a plan. Understand the uncommon service. Make sure, like, if you're using something that's not common, make sure you have detections. You know what could happen from there. Make sure you're alert for everything that have sensitive data. Know your company context. Like, a detection, it's not all the times serves to everybody. You need like to have the context about your business. As I showed that the AWS stuff, like for one customer, 200 in a month, and for other like 5K in a day, 15K in a day. Research and share, because like if you share, as more you share, like what you do, like more people could improve their detections. And that's it. That's my context. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rodrigo. So,
Maybe we'll take questions outside.
All right. No, doesn't matter.
if anyone has questions, Rodrigo will be available in the hallways outside.